Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for April 16th, 2013. I'm back.
Yay!
He's back.
Fluttershy is back.
Yay.
Back again.
And who else do we have here today?
What? Oh.
This is
Burned. Sorry.
This is Burned.
I was singing, sorry.
All right, well, Bernd, you've completely screwed up the intro, so I might as well just do my part here so that we keep everything in order.
To go around the outside.
So my name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and occasionally, apparently, the editor. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm joined today by...
Burned 01. The guy is now ready for introductions and stuff. And I'm the special guest coordinator and also the sub-editor.
And I'm Flutterguy317, and I am the art coordinator on the podcast. And I'm back too.
Coordinator.
Hey.
Yeah.
Pinky Dash is away this week and probably for, I believe, it's the next 2 weeks afterwards.
Something like that. He's in Japan.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. Probably watching ponies in Japan.
I'm actually super jealous. It's pretty awesome.
You won't understand a thing, but...
Yeah.
You know, Bernd, I have a problem with you calling yourself the sub-editor.
What's that?
And the reason why I have a problem with that is because you have been taking a huge load off my back the last month or so. Because not counting last week's whole special video thing, you've edited like the last 4 out of 5 times or something silly. So... You know, you've been doing that for me because I had the trip down to Boston and then I was back for Easter, not at my computer. And then now I'm doing exams. And so, stop calling yourself the sub editor because, you've really been helping me here. And, I hope to make it up for you in the summer. But
I appreciate that. I feel special.
Yeah, you are as much an editor as I am. Even though we're not counting, totals, you're an editor just as much as I am.
Aww.
Aww.
Now kiss.
Well, thank you.
Although we're kind of out of special guests, but I mean, I'll take the blame on that one for distracting.
Yeah, no, Bernd, we really appreciate what you do.
Well, I appreciate it. Our schedule's now actually looking better for special guests. I haven't been wanting to invite people onto the show since we've had such an awkward schedule with schedule with all the special episodes and stuff. And I don't know who I'd like to invite next either.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting things, and we haven't had a sit down normal episode. I mean, you guys did 2 weeks ago. You guys had the Burned and Pinky Dash show.
Yeah, Burned and Pinky Dash show.
But even that, with 2 people missing, it's hard to be exactly a regular show. Although that did go really well.
Yeah, that was fun. It was nice to actually get him to talk once.
Yeah, he did a really good job of that.
It was entertaining, definitely.
So there's 2 more things I want to go over really quickly because we've got a lot of stuff this week,
Yes.
and so we want to get through it. But 2 things. First of all, that was an April Fool's that I posted on April Fool's Day, and shame on everyone who got fooled by that because it was so blatantly an April Fool's. My goodness.
Yeah, Bernd is not taking care of his kids in Canada or Alaska or wherever. So.
I mean, he does have 4 kids. He's just not taking care of them.
But to anyone who did think it was real, it's it's okay. You don't have to feel bad. We still love you.
Well, you got messages sent to you.
Thank you for the heartfelt wishes that I was sent.
That was great.
I appreciate it.
But yes, of course, Bernd is still with us. No, we're not, and we will never do a Not Safe for Work episode. And if we were going to pick a replacement, dear goodness, it would not be Skipsy.
Not that we don't like Skipsy. Skipsy is great, but
But again, that goes back to the whole not having a Not Safe for Work episode and never having one as long as I am on this podcast. So,
Whee!
So that being said,
there was that, and we also had our special PAX episode last week, which was a kind of video documentation of both Fluttershy and my visit down to Boston for PAX East. Not much to be said about that. Just basically, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, kind of like video games, want to see our faces, I guess, then go check that out. It was kind of an experimentation, and we've kind of learned from the experience. So moving forward, when we do video stuff.
Some positive feedback on that. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. I guess we're entertaining as well as educational or something like that.
I was not happy with that episode at all. The pacing was awful.
Yeah, well,
Mr. Negative Pants.
We know better for...
I friggin' liked that episode you made.
You both liked it, but I hated it.
It was great. I thought it was a great episode. I want to meet you guys. I'm super jealous now. That was awesome. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh, so adorable.
Aww.
Yeah, every second of it. And then it was it was actually super informative too. You actually talked about junk instead of your derp games. You actually like talked about like what you went and saw and did.
Yeah.
And then you showed like you actually showed like the magic things and like the league booth and stuff.
Yeah, we got those
and that was awesome.
pictures for you.
I don't know if they had a custom League of Legends skin, but I totally spaced that they give those out at PAX, and I should have pushed you to go visit like the booth. And,
they
like,
did
grab a
that
skin or
last
something.
year, but I don't remember anything. Maybe they did it at the booth, but seriously, both the Magic and the League booths were huge, and like they were everywhere, and like we couldn't walk like 2 feet without being like, oh, there's one. So.
Yeah, basically what we were saying is that, if you had come, we would have to just shuttle you between Magic and League. Like, just back and forth the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
We'd have you sit at League for a while, and then we'd come back and be like, Burn, you have to eat. And then Burn, we have to go. Like, the show floor is closing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, we had that last week, and so if you want to check that out. But this week, we have something really special that, we've got some awesome pieces here that kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, Flutter Guy, what do we have this week?
This week, our theme is portraits, which is an interesting theme. And it's actually kind of broad, so it was great because there's a lot of pieces that kind of fit into the whole portrait theme. So we chose quite a few really good ones. So we'll just jump right in and we can explain more about portraits and stuff as we're looking at the art. So our first piece is called Look What the Queen Dragged In by KP Shadow Squirrel. And this is adorable. So I don't know, Rainbow Plasma, you seem to know a bit about portraits. So did you want to?
I do.
Fill us in.
As an artistic person, we all have our different ways that we look at art. And, obviously, Burn, you look at it a lot from the technical side. Mm-hmm. You're very good at that. And we've identified many times that I look at things from the emotional side, which makes sense to me, and I'm okay with that. But what portraits are meant to do, the portrait is not just, what you would typically think. Like if you think of maybe like a school photograph or an old painting of someone 100 years ago as a portrait. Portraits are meant to be a focus on a character, and it's supposed to give you emotions and characteristics about that character just from the piece itself. So for example, in this piece, because I'm awful at describing things, but I'm great at using examples. In this piece, KP Shadow Squirrel has turned this character, Chrysalis, who in the show has no redeeming qualities in terms of being a protagonist. She's evil, she's a villain, people might like that, but there's nothing quote unquote redeeming about her character, She's just an evil character. And she's turned that completely on its head in this piece with just a few simple things, like colors, the eyes, just like simple things like that. And portraits are meant to convey a character, and what this does really well is that this portrait conveys that the character is not that evil person, but instead is someone cute and cuddly and whatever.
And adorable, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you mentioned the eyes because eyes play such an important role in emotions and conveying emotional feelings. Like if you have eyes that are huge, it's going to be a cute and like kind of a lovey-dovey emotion kind of thing.
Exactly.
Whereas if they're small, it's more of like a fearful, scared kind of thing. And, different proportions of like the iris versus the pupil and stuff also kind of play into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you look at a lot of villains from different TV shows, perhaps not MLP because everybody's got huge eyes, but if you look at a lot of different shows, you'll notice that a lot of the times villains or people that you're not supposed to like antagonists, will have thinner, more focused eyes because it conveys a different emotion than these wide open kind of curious wanting adventure kind of things that you'd normally find with your hero.
Trixie's always squinting.
Yes,
yes,
that's a really good example.
Yeah. What's also interesting too is the use of the kind of the highlights and the reflections on the eyes, because
specular highlights.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, maybe you want to go into it, Burned, but this is also like a fantastic technical piece too.
Yeah.
Technical, like shading and highlights and stuff like that.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, I actually really like KP Shadow Squirrel's work when it comes to technical stuff. Because he makes something that looks really advanced, really simple in how he creates it. Mm-hmm. And I actually learned that by dissecting his Photoshop document, because he basically starts with layers, and he starts from a simple base and starts creating, and his step-by-step process of how he creates layers in each piece of his portraits and makes each step like shading and highlighting, and he builds his painting is quite interesting and I don't know, simple. I can't think of words. Words are hard. We are in a show about art, not words. But anyway, so every layer and every part of shading, it has its own distinct layer and like sections. So if you were to separate everything out, you would have like all the darks on one layer, all the lights on another, and all the outlines on another, and then all like the shading and color on like another layer, and then the background is its own little separate layer. So I thought that was just really interesting to see his process of how he makes his basically his portraits, because it's not a large amount of crazy detail or painting. Sometimes when we highlight paintings on the show, it's crazy colors and blending in everything everywhere, and it's extraordinarily complex and it's all like basically how many colors the artist could build up on top of each other to build some kind of crazy piece.
Yeah.
But with KP Shadow Squirrel's work, I have a sketch, I'm going to put down my base colors, and then I'm going to make my shadows and highlights, and then I'm going to add some details, and that is the piece.
Yeah.
So like his specular highlights on the eyes that we were talking about, that's one layer.
Mm-hmm.
And the details and like eyelashes, that's its own little layer. But yeah, technical art stuff.
I'd say that sounds about right. Whoa there.
A lot of art, I feel like, it's a lot more simpler than like it seems, or like I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's like, you know, it's the way that the artist does it. It's like until you see someone actually putting together their art, you're like, oh wow, this is so complex. They must have done every single stroke and detail and stuff like that. And then they, you know, artists have their tips and tricks and stuff like that, and can kind of make something absolutely amazing pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we do have a lot of art and a lot of questions, so we got to move on kind of quickly. So I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to say about this piece before we do?
Nope, it's cute.
It's adorable.
Let's move on.
All right.
Super cute.
Our next piece is called Cutie Art Crusaders by Celebi Yoshi. And this is interesting because it's 3 ponies instead of just one in a portrait, but it is a portrait because it conveys the emotions of the characters. And yeah.
Yeah, it's an example of stretching past what the traditional view of a portrait might be for people. People might not view this as a portrait because it's not a single person and they're not sitting a certain way or whatever based on their own views, but this is still a portrait because it's conveying the characters without any other event. It's not like a photograph where they're capturing themselves doing something. This picture was specifically made to highlight the characters, their emotions, and even though they are fooling around or whatever, it's not, you know, it's not capturing some sort of event that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's very specifically made for the purpose of being a picture about these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, the characters are displayed. It's mostly just their faces and the emotions that have to do there. And for example, the emotions are done greatly with Scootaloo's expression. And just how perfect.
Yes.
She's just like, I'm sick of my friends right now.
I love
whatever.
in the description, it says, edit, it has been decided Scootaloo is channeling Grumpy Cat. That's fantastic.
But yeah, it's still a portrait, even though it might not fit the traditional definition of what people think. This is still the artistic style of portrait.
Yeah.
The characters are the subject, and that's really what's important.
Mm-hmm.
The term for when portraits like do things unusually is like an unconventional portrait, and that's when you have something where it's the character and it's doing something that you wouldn't normally expect, and when it's supposed to portray the character, which is the subject, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's like when you think conventional portrait, it's, you know, it's one person sitting there, like maybe looking at the camera, and like it's just that person, and that's what the piece is about. And then when you have like an unconventional portrait, maybe it'll bring in more characters, or the characters will be doing something silly, or it's abstract, or it portrays the character in like a weird way or an unusual way. And that's when you start like stretching out into more unconventional portraits. Hey, Burn1 here. I wanted to enter another one of my little educational thingamajigs that I do here because I didn't like my definition that I had just used for portraits in general. So hopefully this helps clear up the confusion in when we were trying to define portraiture in art specifically. I just have a little definition that I grabbed off the internet here, but I'm going to read it for you guys. Portraits are works of art that record the likenesses of humans or animals that are alive or have been alive. And that's in conventional art throughout like art history. Now, so that we have a problem here because with My Little Pony, it's technically impossible to have an actual portrait in art because it's not conveying the likeness of someone who has actually existed. So a portrait is basically the subject of it is about portraying a person in the likeness of that person or individual or animal, so on and so forth. And in My Little Pony, it's about conveying that specific pony and then the emotions of that pony and likeness of that pony in an image. So in this example, we were just looking at the Cutie Art Crusaders. It's conveying basically the likeness of those three characters and just that, which is what makes it a portrait by our definition. But just to kind of throw some more examples, this is one of my favorite examples, and this is actually when I was talking about unconventional self-portraits. This is a famous unconventional self-portrait by Diego Velázquez, and in which he depicts himself painting the king and queen of Spain, the royal family, and their royal family. Normally when you look at this self-portrait, you would think that the illuminated girl in the center would be the subject, but actually it's a self-portrait of Velázquez over there on our left-hand side. Obviously the artist with the paintbrush painting this painting, which is that canvas on our left-hand side. And this painting is huge, by the way. It is like 2 people tall, as you can see. So everyone in this painting is actually life-sized, which is really, really cool. I'd love to ramble about this painting, but I won't. But I wanted to use that as basically an example to show that a self-portrait can be more than just a person or individual. Normally it is, and the majority of the time it is, but it can be something unconventional, and it can be something very unique and individual as well. So hopefully that clarifies things up for everyone if we can manage to confuse anyone with our random ponies, words, and junk. You know what? Actually, I'm not done yet. I did a little bit more research on the definition of portraits in general, and like I stated earlier in that definition that I read, portraits are works of art that record the likeness of a human or animal that has been alive and has existed, that is alive or has been alive and has existed. Now, that's awkward because anything like ponies or cartoons or things that are fictional and have not existed or lived in real life cannot technically be portraits by definition. And so paintings of people and who have lived, so anyone who is famous, like a president or a painter, like a self-portrait of a painter, that is technically a portrait. Now, any kind of painting like something of gods or goddesses like Zeus or Athena from like Roman mythology, those are fictional beings, and so like religious paintings basically are not considered portraits. Those are considered devotional images or devotional paintings of those deities. They cannot be called portraits of those characters. So any kind of portrait of a pony is actually a devotional image, but not devotional in the religious sense. So it was kind of fun to look into this, because when we think portrait, we think all the hundreds of portraits we've seen of people like just sitting, standing, and looking at the artist, the painter, or looking at you, the viewer. And that is the conventional portrait. That's the portrait we all know. And that's why I was having a hard time with my definition, because I like unconventional self-portraits. It was one of my assignments in drawing one to make a unconventional self-portrait. So when we were talking about ponies and we wanted portraits as a theme, we found pictures that fit that real classical portrait sense of when you think actual portraits and art of things that have portrayed real people. So technically everything in this episode isn't a portrait, but it is similar to the likeness of when we think portraits in art, if that makes sense. So I was trying to make this to clarify, but I ended up making this little educational segment to probably confuse all of you. So I apologize for that. So in the theme of the rest of our episode, we are going to be talking about pieces of My Little Pony art that are visually similar to what we think when we think of the conventional portrait. So enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, I think personally, this might not fit the definition exactly, but I think it's very important that in quote-unquote portrait pieces, that the characters themselves are not necessarily doing anything discernible, nor are they partaking in a certain event. There's been pieces where I've seen where there'll be a background, like they're in a forest or they're in, like they're looking up in the night sky or something. That is them doing something, and you're taking a snapshot of that moment. I think portraits, this piece, they're obviously doing something. They're fooling around, they're whatever, they're goofing off, okay? But they're not doing any discernible action. If you take a picture of Rarity, which we have coming up, just by herself, then that's a portrait. But the second that you're like, maybe she is sewing, right? That suddenly completely, in my mind, changes it from a portrait to something else.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like a snapshot of something that she's doing as opposed to an art piece that's specifically made for the purpose of being a portrait.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just my own definition of it.
That's fine. When it comes to a portrait, there's a little bit of leeway because like the purpose of a portrait, and is how I see it, is the subject of a piece is supposed to be about the individual and capture the likeness and expression and personality of that individual. So I mean, and like you can play with that a little, but you're right. Once you start to play with it enough, it becomes a snapshot of what a character is doing. But when you think like, let's say, like a self-portrait, an artist can paint, say, herself painting or something, and that can be seen as kind of like a self-portrait. But I mean, it's like a portrayal of yourself or portrayal of a certain character where it's clear when you look at that it's about that character.
Like I feel like if there was a picture of Rarity with like a sewing machine in front of her, but she wasn't actually actively doing sewing, and there was no background and stuff like that, that would still be considered a portrait because it's kind of a part of her, like her personality and emotions and stuff center around that. I don't know, could be wrong. But I feel like it's a very loose definition of, what exactly a portrait.
I just think there's a little bit of gray area. So anyways, on this piece, there's not a humongous amount to go in this piece, but I thought the artist did a fantastic job catching the energy of the piece. Again, this was just kind of an example of different emotions being displayed. We've got happy, we've got excited, and we've got, tired of the other's antics or things like that.
Grumpy feathers.
There's one thing that this artist does, interestingly, is it's hard to tell, but it's almost as if there's a little blur around the edge of this piece. And that's really interesting to me because I'm not sure if that's done intentionally or not, or whether or not that's just a coincidence.
I can see it. I don't know what that's called when you have like a black string around the thing that's on a gradient. Whatever that's called.
Yeah.
A vignette or something.
A vignette.
Yeah.
There's definitely
Let me type that in for you. I believe it's vignette. I can't spell it.
Forget it.
But yes, it's a vignette.
Yeah.
But I guess this is like a blur vignette. We don't know the technical terms, but that's all I really have to say about that piece.
Portrait of the three characters, the subject.
Yay.
Yay. This artist, Celeb Yoshi, you should go check her out. She's awesome. Her work is awesome.
Yes.
And she has a very unique style. So we were talking about a style episode. It's like, what like qualities of your work when people look at it make them think you. It's like this artist barely ever uses outlines. It's all her work is very unoutlined, or is outlined, but it's very broad colors, and the edges of characters and colors always have a sharp edge and like meet another color very abruptly. And then she shades in gradients, which sometimes like on like Applejack's ear, and then shades in hard lines. So she like mixes up soft shading and hard shading, and then only uses hard edges but no outlines. And it's a very unique way to make a digital painting, actually, and I think it's really cool in how she does all of her work, and her colors are always very vivid and like pleasant to look at. And, like the eyes of each one of the characters, like Appleboom, Scootaloo. I don't want to name them all Sweetie Belle. I always do that. It's like the eyes of the characters in this piece. Let me name the ones clearly in front of you. But their eyes are really awesome. I love Appleboom's just like really bright eye, and like Scootaloo's super stern look and just like stern face. I mean, when like as your eye carries from character to character, it's like you get each impression and like emotion, and that's really important for like a portrait, is like what like feeling and mood that your character you are painting portrays. Something we might do in the future is composition. So we got a question about that in an email, and I was mentioning how you like when you look at this piece, you'll kind of look at each character and your eye travels. That's an important part of composition, is like is the movement in the piece, meaning like where does your eye travel or move when you look at something. And as far as composition goes, I really like this piece and how it has each of the three characters kind of squished together, but yet you can still clearly like see each one of them, and like even Scootaloo seems kind of squished, but it helps kind of portray her grumpiness of like being shoved in between the two.
Yeah, because she's being squished.
Yeah. Okay, so our next piece is called Rarity by M. Scootaloo. And this is kind of a more, I guess, traditional sense of a portrait where it's, you know, single subject looking at the camera with kind of a stoic expression on her face.
It's much more traditional.
Yeah.
Much more.
When you think of portraiture, it looks like a bust or sculpture.
Yes.
It has that very common traditional bust look with like it shows part of the shoulders, like the front of the chest, and then the head. And then when you're looking at a sculpture, you don't look at a head on. It's something that's fully round, and you can rotate it, so it's usually depicted at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah. This piece, I believe, I may be wrong this because we only see a certain portion of Rarity, but I believe it's meant to be a little bit anthropomorphic.
Yeah, it would appear that way. A
little bit more humanized than usual. And what I really like about what the artist did with that is that they changed Rarity's hair into something different, and it really changes how the character feels. And the reason they did that is because if you think about it, Rarity just has a fancy mohawk. But it works because she's a pony.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's more of a human hairstyle. And I think in general, this piece does a really interesting thing by shifting your view of Rarity to be something more. Because when you look at this, you don't necessarily think of the show Rarity. You recognize the patterns, that the colors, and then she's also a unicorn and all these different things. And you're like, oh, that must be Rarity. But the emotional vibe that this picture is giving off is not necessarily one that Rarity would give off. It seems more of almost like something that Rarity would want to be. Almost like a fleur-de-lis. Is that her name in the show?
Yeah.
Is it fleur-de-lis?
Yeah, it is.
Fleur-de-lis,
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that big unicorn from Becoming Popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost as if it gives off a completely different character than I think she is in the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I agree with you.
She's still there.
To some extent. Yeah.
But it's twisted.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Definitely. I just wanted to say that I love how they did the hair, which it's kind of good that you kind of brought it up. But what's interesting is like all of the different color, well, not really different colors, but the strokes of like the lighter purple in the dark purple in her hair. It's just another way of like trying to strand hair, which I find is kind of interesting.
Absolutely.
Because it's kind of hard when you're doing hair or mane or anything like that to come up with individual strands and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of like digital painters will use brushes to kind of simulate stranded hair. But this is just another method, which is really cool.
I think people should play with the character's hair a little bit more, especially if you're changing it from something like a pony to an anthropomorphic thing. You can actually make a very unique take on a character just by changing their hairstyle. Mm-hmm. smartly. You know, obviously you have to put some thought into it, but
Yeah,
something to consider.
definitely.
Yeah.
You go on.
Go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh, okay. My turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, again, I like this artist style. It's very sketchy. It's like, it's one of those really unfinished styles where everything's very loose and very sketched, especially in the outlines and in the hair. And I think what's really cool, and one of my favorite parts, it's really subtle and you actually almost don't notice it, but if you look at the top of her hair, you can see in purple lines, you can actually see the undersketch for Rarity's head. So when the artist started out making the sketch for this, and started for the circle for the head and like the shoulders and neck and whatever, and laying out all the proportions, you can actually see that purple circle behind everything on her ear, and then especially on like the middle of her hair there, those purple lines, and all those super sketchy purple lines and like the bottom portions of her hair on her shoulder really help like imitate hair strands and everything. And I just thought it was cool that where the artist actually left in how she built the piece and like the sketch underneath and then built on top of it. It's like that purple layer she left on top, so to help it look like hair, and yet she also used that for sketching. So it's like the transparency of how she made the piece came out in this very sketchy portrait. And I kind of like seeing that. I don't think it makes a piece bad. Some people think like when they see that sketchiness or the undersketch of like how the piece started, they're like, oh, it's unfinished or whatever. It's like that's not the purpose, is to be super done and hide that. It's like I don't know. I kind of enjoy it.
No, I definitely agree with
I think it enhances the piece actually, because it kind of, I don't know, it gives its own flair and its own
personality.
Style. Yeah. Just one last thing before we move on. I really like how this artist kind of put this piece on a background of basically the same outline, just larger, kind of like shadowed. It's kind of an interesting choice to do that.
If you look at it, it looks like the artist just took all the layers that was the piece and basically merged them onto one layer and then made it bigger while keeping it centered. So if you're working in Photoshop, you literally just like merge them, duplicated them, put them on the bottom, and then straight up transformed it and like stretched it out while still being centered.
Yeah.
Because you'll notice that it is completely like centered, where it's even in the top and the bottom, and you can tell like on the hair curls and then the shoulder how it doesn't match up. So you know that the artist didn't actually draw that shadow by hand.
Yeah.
It matches up with every other line perfectly.
Yeah, especially like some of the sketch lines you can definitely see.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, so we do have to move on to our next piece. The next piece is called The Minor Fall, The Major Lift by Buttercup Cyan.
Did you not watch Dragon Ball Z at all?
No.
Okay. And when I was a kid, I did.
Saiyan.
It's Saiyan.
No, I'm sorry.
Buttercup Saiyan. It's a Dragon Ball reference.
I'll just be in my corner.
It's okay.
This is a unique piece. Bernd, you brought up the fact that it's textured. I think you brought it up.
Yeah.
Before we started recording.
But not naturally textured.
Yeah, not naturally. It is a digital painting, I think. But yeah, it looks like it used oil painting because of the texture that's on the.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Would you like to elaborate?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was saying that this piece looks like traditional work. It looks like a traditional piece. It looks like a traditional oil painting. Like everything on it looks like it was done in oil. And like this isn't a bad word. This is like a good word to use, but it looks rather gross. It looks kind of grody. Everything looks really oily and has a texture, and like you can feel it. And like you would have to have worked with oil paint. I can't think of any kind of parallel, but it's oil paint's very thick and it like kind of loops together and glops. It's a good term. So everything on this painting, digital painting, mind you, it looks like it was very globbed on, especially like on Rainbow Dash's cheek. You can kind of see this 3-dimension there. And then on her wing, you'll notice if you start at the bottom right-hand side of her wing, how it starts to curve up. You can, if you actually make this image bigger, you can see how that red kind of like blends in and curves upward, and then right where the wing bends right there, there's another like 3-dimensional texture there, as if the paint, if it was made with paint, had actual depth and there was actual like dimension of like glopping that paint on there. Because if you look at a really thick oil painting, I mean, it's not flat. It's not just flat colors. The paint actually has like 3-dimensionalness to it, and it's like sticking up out from the painting, like by sometimes even in several inches if the artist is crazy. And then even in the background in the top hand right, you can kind of see like it looks like he literally got drops of paint and like dropped them on his on the canvas. But this is done traditionally, so it's like for a traditional painting, or
it's done digitally.
For a digital
Yeah.
painting to have this traditional feel of paint drug through each other and like globbed on top of each other, it was just a really cool and unique like feature that I hadn't seen before, especially in pony work. And we've had this piece for a really long time. We've just never managed to like kind of find a place for it.
Yeah, it's one of my backgrounds on my computer actually.
But like everywhere, like even in like the bottom of the chin, like underneath the mouth, you can kind of see those different colors, like the digital brush that he used, or she. Let me check before.
It's she.
Yeah.
She. Okay, so the digital brush that she used, you can kind of see it's in how it like the colors drag on top of each other, and then to the right, our right hand side of Rainbow Dash's eye, you can kind of see that lighter blue kind of just swiped on top of the other colors, and then in the shading above the eye, how it's real rough, and again it's really loose brush strokes, especially in the wings and like the feathers on the wings, and it looks like the artist just went at it with straight oil paint. Like this was very much a painting. It wasn't a drawing. It wasn't like a digital line art thing. It was built with paint digitally. It's really unique, and I find it's really cool. It really stands out. It really does.
It's very cool that they emulated the whole 3D-ness of the paint, because that's probably something that's difficult to get right, and to look as good as it does here. And you can like especially notice that in Rainbow Dash's cheek and the hair and the wing and stuff like that. Just kind of makes it pop out a little bit, gives it some rough, messy texture.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cool. One last thing, I don't know if Rainbow Plasma, if you wanted to say anything about this piece, we do have to move on. One last thing is I love also how the light is reflected off of Rainbow Dash's like wing, because it's a reddish color, which is reflecting her hair, which is kind of cool on our left side, and it's also like a purplish on
the light reflecting off objects hitting other objects.
Yes.
I forget what the term for that is. I'm sure there's a fancy pants art term.
Yeah.
Reflective lighting. We'll make up that word for now.
Yeah, we'll just say that.
But yeah, no, that is awesome. Like how the hair, and if you look on the bottom side of her jaw, on our right hand side, next to the green part of her hair, there's kind of like violet blended in there.
And there's a little green
different
too.
colors blended into the paint, which is like that's a real big cue to make up or like to let me reword that. That is a real good visual cue for being able to tell that it's a good painting, if that makes sense. Where when an artist blends in different colors of things onto other parts of the object or objects. God, these words sound so confusing even to myself. I am confusing myself.
I understand it, kind of.
So, for example, if you look right underneath her eye, that yellow blended in there, obviously coming off the top of her hair. So the artist is using different colors besides just blue. So a mistake that sometimes novice artists will make is when they make or paint, or they're starting to make a digital painting and they paint Rainbow Dash, they think blue. So they put down blue. And then when they think the hair or whatever, they'll make the basic colors for the hair. But they won't start blending in other colors that aren't blue into other things. So if you look at Rainbow Dash's whole face, it's not just blue. It has yellow in there, has red in there, has violet in there, has green in there. It has a rainbow in there. So there's so many different colors blended into everything all over this piece, and used intelligently on the edges of things to give depth, to give shading, and that's how you can really tell that it's a good painting, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, we do have to move on, unfortunately, because that
Don't you do it? Don't you rattle those, you little bugger?
Feels good to be back, baby.
That's a fantastic piece.
Don't you rattle those? You get those back. Back.
Come here. They're locking you in the cage, and you're gonna shut up about the next piece.
No, he's not, because he's the one that brought it up. Our last piece.
Yeah.
I brought this one up though.
I know, but
I didn't get to say anything.
well, you could have said something.
No, you guys said everything perfectly.
Oh, we're channeling the inner rainbow
Stole your thunder.
plasma. All right, so our last piece is called Fluttershy by Antiander.
Yeah.
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 Actually, Byrne brought this piece up, which is why we ended up going with the portrait theme in the first place. And yeah, it's gorgeous.
You have 3.5 minutes to describe everything about this piece, Burned.
I love it. It's beautiful. No, Antiander is actually becoming one of my like favorite artists on DeviantArt right now. All the work he's like making as of recent. It's beautiful. He's a beautiful artist, and unfortunately, some people see this and they might see this piece and like, oh, it's really sad. What happened to DeviantArt? Well, what happened was sad things happened, I suppose, and I'm not going to pretend to know what happened, but he did manage to take down his DeviantArt. But luckily and fortunately and super awesome happy time for me, he did decide to bring his DeviantArt back up so we can go enjoy his work more. But I won't try to like I won't say anything about his reasons or anything. But I just want to say that I'm glad he's back, and I'm really glad that his DeviantArt is back for us all to enjoy, and that he's still making work. And I wish him the best and hope he's happy. Anyway, I love this piece. I love this Fluttershy piece. I love the colors in this piece. I got a little too obsessive about this when I saw it and like fell in love with it, that I actually took it and like put it into Photoshop and then got each color and then went to that color wheel that we showed in our color episode and like tried to find where the colors were on the color wheel. And it turns out that this is, what is it? And not an analogous. Let me bring up the color wheel.
Yeah, it's not analogous by any means.
Yeah, no. It's actually super analogous, but it's like,
Wait, really?
Wait. It's sort of. It has analogous colors. I'm trying to find the thingy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, the colors used in this piece are a tetrad or a triad. I think that's the right words. Tetrad meaning 4 colors and triad meaning 3 colors. Triad is what it is. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's a triad. It's a triadric piece. A triadric color scheme with the main color being that like deep turquoise green and the blue in the background, and then the 2 complements being the orange and pink in Fluttershy. And so I just thought it was funny that I actually took this piece and like put it into Photoshop and then got like the color wheel and was like playing with the colors to see how they blended with each other. But how everything blends, I just thought was awesome, especially like, and how much like Fluttershy's eye like stands out. I don't know. I'm gushing at this moment. I don't have anything like constructive or intelligent to say. I just really thought it was beautiful, and like I really enjoyed the colors and how it hit me.
Yeah.
And this artist, holy crap, is amazing. Like how ridiculously perfect his line art is ridiculous. If you actually go in his DeviantArt gallery, you can find his just plain black and white line art, and everything is down to like a fine, thin perfection. And like I thought that was amazing. But then when he added color and added blending and added this triadric color scheme, I like that word. It's a big word. And then the white highlights on everything I thought was really unique, and everything's very clean cut and like overlap. I don't know. It was a very like non-simplistic, advanced, perfectionist like style. And I don't know. I find myself fascinated by it, and I find it super cool and super beautiful. And you should really go check out this artist and check out this piece in its full definition on DeviantArt, in its full, huge, beautiful definition.
Yeah.
'Tis a large piece.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer the Applejack one, even though this one is done very well, and that is all I'm going to say about it.
The Applejack one, the eyes are just lovely.
Yeah.
I
love the bird that's in this piece, actually. Because it is basically the background hue. It's the blue as opposed to like the yellowish orange or the pink in the whole triadric scheme. That is a great word.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's like it kind of pops out from Fluttershy, so it kind of draws your eye there, and also your eye gets drawn to Fluttershy's eye. But what's really interesting to me is that like when you look at this piece, Fluttershy is not really her normal brighter yellow. It's more of like an orangey, dulled down kind of yellow. And I think the artist made a great choice of doing that because it complements the pink in her hair and also the background very, very nicely. Like the colors, yeah, like you were saying, they blend so well.
So if you are a novice or aspiring colorist, so to speak, and you want to kind of check this out for yourself, if you do go to colorschemedesigner.com and you can actually set the hue numbers and angle numbers of the colors that are going to complement that hue. And you do go there, set your hue to 200%, and then your angle to 30%, and then you'll notice there is the triad of colors that Antiander used in this Fluttershy piece. And then he also used that really, really vivid, what is that blue in Fluttershy's eyes, that blue-green?
Turquoise.
Not quite turquoise.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's like a turquoisey teal.
I've had this debate with so many people that is turquoise.
Sure, turquoise or a greenish cyan, which I'm going to assume is turquoise.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no. Yeah, no, so it's really cool. Like, everything's cool. Like the intelligent use of color is cool. The outlines are done to a ridiculousness. The highlights are used uniquely to the point where I kind of haven't seen that kind of crazy, super clean white highlight on the edge of things. It really makes it pop and like stand out.
Yep.
And gosh darn it, she's cute.
So true. All right, I hate to wrap you up there, Bern, but Rainbow Plasma, hand me the key, please. All right, we do have to move on because we're doing a turbo mode question time.
One last thing, because you're all going to forget it.
Okay.
But while we were talking about portraits,
Oh, yeah.
something else that you guys can go check out. Here's an example of one right on the screen. This is Was There Any Doubt by the Art Flower. But there was also all those series of two-sided pictures where they would have the left side would be like the good side and the right side would be the insecure or bad side. And that was a really cool thing. So we'll put a couple of examples in our favorites folder. But that is a cool idea for a portrait. And I wanted to mention that very quickly before we go into questions.
All right, so the way that we're going to do this, unfortunately, Pinky Dash is not here to ask the questions, but we figured that we could probably turbo mode some of these. So we took a bunch from the emails, and we're just going to kind of go through them. So first question is, who are your guys' favorite voice actors and why? By Anonymous.
Let's just limit that to the show. So Ashley Ball? Is that her
Yeah.
name? Ashley Ball, because she plays my two favorite characters.
I gotta go with Andrea Libben and Ashley. Oh God, they're all so good.
Nope, gotta pick
All
one.
right, fine, Andrea Libben.
Turbo mode.
My favorite voice actor, I'd probably pick Discord. I'd probably pick John Delancey. I really like all the male voice actors just because they love the community so much and like conventions and like when I've met them and such.
Yeah.
Bam, cool.
Awesome.
What's the next one?
So next question is, what kind of character expressions are your favorite in pony art? E.g. smug, lost, content, squee, etc. Sent in by
Cute.
Dual Shock.
Cute.
Sure. Oh God. I want to say squee.
Squee.
Yeah.
Actually, the last Fluttershy piece, kind of like that shy, like tilting down head look. I really like that. I think it's adorable. And then shocked, like super small. We were talking about pupils in the episode, like big eyes versus like really small shocked like eyes, like a shocked face. I think that's really funny with like tinier pupils, like super shocked, scared, whatever.
Yeah.
Shocked, scared. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, next question is cowboy hat, noir top hat, or cap by Discord. I would have to go cowboy hat, but it's got to be like a Stetson or something like an authentic cowboy hat.
Cowboy hat, because I could cosplay as Applejack really easily.
I'm gonna go with the noir top hat because I like the word noir, I like the style noir, and then I'm a fan of egophiliac.
I could totally see you in a noir top hat.
Definitely.
Shamefully own a fedora.
That's awesome. All right. So our next question is, do you think listening to music helps the process of drawing or holds it back? By Discord again. I personally think it helps. Well, it depends on the type of music. I listen to a lot of like epic like soundtracks when I'm vectoring sometimes, and that definitely like helps stimulate kind of creativity, I think. Personally, yeah.
Are we like mixing up the order? Am I going now?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. Random Plasma in his silence. Music helps process drawing. I think it depends on person to person. I personally hate silence. I can't stand like sitting in silence and focusing on something. I really like music. Listening to music I enjoy. I find it makes me happy when I create things. So it's not that it like helps the process. I find it helps me bear through the process. But more often than not, I'll find myself focusing super hard on drawing and then ignore what's going on. But I'll like dance when I draw and stuff. So
Nice.
I think it helps to listen to music. I think it's good.
Yeah, if it comes down to drawing and stuff, even though I don't do a lot of that nowadays, any music is good for me. Just filling in the silence. I'll also listen to like podcasts and other stuff, just anything to fill the silence. If I'm studying or having to focus on something, then vocals really does not help. Like I can't edit the podcast while listening to anything vocal because it screws me up.
Yeah, and then there's us talking over the podcast, so it's like two talking to people at once.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't do it.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally drawing, go for it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Because like the art of like just art in general and drawing is so time taking that it's just nice to have something to make it. So it's just like
you gotta find
monotony.
Yeah.
something. For sure.
All right. So our next question is, have you guys ever planned on a Cutie Art Crusaders animated adventures? Sent in by Medibobo.
No, we have not.
We have not.
No, we have not. But if anybody wants to make one, feel free to. We are giving you full license to do so, but we are definitely not doing any by ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you're not doing any, but maybe in the future if I ever learn it.
It would be awesome to do a really crude one, like the animated Game Grumps ones, where it's just like.
I beg to differ. I think those are way more advanced than I could ever do. So.
Well, I mean, no, not like super advanced, like the show or what Jan Animations is doing. Like craziness where it's like weeks upon months of like video editing where it's just like draw a quick silly sketch and then put funny stuff over it and then next one. That would be awesome.
Like an animatic almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
If you make one, we'll mention you on the show.
And we'll put it up.
Yep.
Can I read the next question?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. So our next question sent in by Medibobo is, Ramoplasma and Burned have broken out into a full-out combat. Which side are you on? Are you on the side of like themes and pretty pictures? You on the sides of education and value?
Wait. Is this a question of like physical conflict? Is this a question of verbal conflict? Or is this a question of artistic preference?
We'll take it as the full-on combat of how we are as individuals on the show. As like, do you want to be about rambling and edumacation, or do you want to be about the themes and then keeping a strict schedule?
All I have to say is, you guys got to pick the side with the keys.
It's about breaking the cage, man.
The keys are power.
Rebel.
Wait. Am I the only one that has to answer this question? Like, you guys are already on sides. Like,
like combating.
Yeah, Burned, I'm gonna pick your side.
Yes.
What do you have to say, Flutter Guy?
God, that's tough.
Pick a side. Pick my side.
Yeah. No, see, Burn has very, very valid points.
What side do you want, Flutter Guy?
This is awful.
This is awful. This is putting so much pressure on me.
No, it's the next question. It sounds really educational.
What side are you on?
We'll leave that up to the fans to decide.
Education or
see,
whatever the word for
here's the
oppression.
thing, and this is totally
education or oppression.
This is totally going out of turbo mode. But I tend to agree with Burned on a lot more things, like specifically like that he should be allowed to talk about value in pieces. but I also feel like you ramble quite a lot.
Damn it.
There are no sides.
So yeah, I'd be caught in the middle and I'd be the first to get slaughtered.
That's why we have you on the show, because you're not just another one of us. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's kind of a random question.
We're all different.
It's like turbo mode question, and then it's like we've broken out into thing like, what side are we on? It's like, well, I'm clearly on my side. So I don't know what you guys. Okay,
Definitely.
anyway.
No, I'm caught in the middle.
All right, so the next question is from Fluttershy. These next two are.
Yes.
But the first one is, have you ever put a crayon in your nose or ear?
No.
My answer is no.
I'm going to assume that when I was young enough, probably yes. But I just don't remember because I was very small and probably stupid. But I do know that I have put pencils in my nose and ear in elementary school because I like to be funny.
Yeah, that's the reason I was.
Oh, and then like the walrus thing where you got like two pencils and like you put it in your lips and you're like,
Yeah, the
I'm a
walrus thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done that.
I'm going to assume that Pinky Dash has done so every single day of his life.
That's part of his morning ritual.
Okay, so the second half of that question, well, it's not really a half of the question, just another one. From Fluttershy, have you ever run into people who watch your show? Yes, we have.
Yes, we did.
One person.
Yes.
Well, so you see, like 4 weeks ago,
I knew it!
I'm just kidding. I watched that, and when you guys talked about that, I actually haven't. I haven't.
It's totally
like,
possible.
I wish I had. So I'm actually really jealous. You actually got to meet a fan.
Yeah.
The most I've ever interacted was like a lot of my friends watch the show, and one of my really good friends' employees, because he's a manager at a bowling alley, one of his employees became a Brony because he started watching our show, and then became a fan of our show, and then started talking to me.
That's
like,
awesome.
Sawyer, if you're watching this, shout out to you. And then, but no, the most I've ever gotten that's closest to that is at Everfree Northwest. I was talking to some artists, and there was a girl who was a friend of Final Drafts, and I forget her name, but she was like, oh yeah, no, I know your show. And like, I've watched your show. I was like, oh, that's cool. But she was never like, oh, I'm a huge fan. So I've never had that interaction, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of people who we were friends with, and then we started making the show, and then they're like fans of the show.
Yeah.
But like we were talking more specifically about like fans that we'd never met before in our lives, started watching a show, and then we met. Yeah, we met Zargos back at PAX East and talked for a little bit.
That was cool.
The picture that we got was a little bit blurry, and I also completely forgot to put it in the video, but we got a picture with him, talked to him a while.
You can put it up now.
And so yes, we've met one person who we would call a quote unquote like fan, like that we have never known before.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
If you got it, I'll put it on the screen for now.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of blurry.
Yeah.
'Cause I
Okay.
didn't get to see it. I want to see it.
Yes. One last question from Silver Rain Clouds. It's been a while, so who's your favorite pony, and has it changed?
I feel like this question's here for a reason.
I feel like this question's here for me. Because yes, my favorite pony has changed slightly. My favorite pony now is Applejack.
Lies and blasphemy.
It's for the last half a year.
Yeah, for the
at
last
least.
like 3 months or so.
Oh, it's been more than that.
Blasphemy.
How long do you think a year is?
Your name is Flutterguy317 and not Applejack317.
Yeah, see, here's the thing is like Fluttershy is a very, very, very close second. Like very, very, very close.
He says in Fluttershy's voice. Come on.
Okay,
No.
see, here's
Don't ruin
the
this
thing
for me.
is Applejack is my favorite character on the show, but I relate more to Fluttershy.
Yes.
So-
just like White Diamonds was saying, White Diamond's favorite character is Applejack, but she also has a close second of Rarity because she relates very much with Rarity.
Yes.
I gotcha. It's kind of how like you wouldn't marry your own personality.
Yeah.
Maybe that's weird.
Oh no. There's enough me on me. I don't need any more me. Okay. There's too much me in me already.
You want to say me again?
Burned, your turn.
Oh, me. Me. My favorite pony. No, it hasn't changed. It's still Rainbow Dash. I love her personality. I think she's funny. There's parts of her I like, there's parts of her I don't. But I get over the parts that I don't, and then I look at this Rainbow Dash Philly plushie and I hug it, and she's best pony.
I gotta say, I love Rainbow Dash's interactions with Tank in the past season.
Yeah. And Scootaloo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
Rainbow Dash, duh.
Yeah, we
It's
all
fine.
know yours
Gosh.
hasn't
In
changed.
case
Come
anybody's
on.
wondering, hasn't changed at all. Most of my gallery is her plushies,
You're-
all that
The
jazz.
tongue in the previous, the little Rainbow Dash plushie tongue at the end of our last
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
Rainbow Dash plushie. The thing is adorable. I'm gonna like
So-
get a paper tongue and like tape it to mine.
It's so adorable.
I know. I find that I like Rainbow Dash so much that I like just learned how to sketch and draw Rainbow Dash. Now I can't draw pony hair that's not Rainbow Dash hair, which is convenient because I like drawing Derpy too, and they have the same hair.
Yeah, it's funny, Bern, because you were just talking about the fact that like it's weird because Flutter Guy, you're so much like Fluttershy. Well, I relate a lot to Rainbow Dash as a character. I think that we're kind of similar in the fact that we both say very stupid things, but also because I feel like I also have like a lot of that loyalty to it. So like even up to a point where like I'll hear people on the internet be like, you know what, I don't really like Rainbow Dash as a character, and I'm like, you take that back. Take it back. You take that back.
I don't like your face.
You're just an uncultured swine.
That's awesome.
Hey, the swine in MLP are very cultured. They know how to
That's true.
make music.
But yes, that's
you know,
not
in
gonna change.
the Apple Family Reunion episode.
Okay, you're actually talking about the little piggies in like the Apple Family Reunion.
Yeah.
Or what? Okay.
Yeah.
You were just talking.
Yeah, I wasn't just spewing random nonsense.
Pinky Dash's favorite pony is Pinkie Pie. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, no, it hasn't.
Close seconds, Rainbow Dash.
Yeah.
No, really now? I didn't know that. All
For
right.
those who.
So,
Yes, it's in his name, Bern. Thanks for explaining the joke.
I like pointing things out.
but
Welcome.
Oh, I've missed you, Bern. To be honest with you,
Me.
Yeah. So that this
I thought you were gonna end that with 2, but all right, cool. Well,
this concludes Turbo Mode question time.
Yes,
The terrible
so,
turbo mode.
I'll take over the plugs because I don't want to force you guys to do that, and it's been a while, so I want to get my feet wet and back in the plugs.
Can I do the social media?
Yes.
Yay.
Get your plug pants on.
But we have a DeviantArt. That's cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. That was weird to say because I haven't said it in a long time. But yeah, cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. That is the main place where you can go to get all of the information, such as when we're live streaming and our favorites folders, which will be in the description. All that fun stuff, extra pictures. It's all great. Go there. We also have an email, which is cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Send us in art recommendations, questions, because we just went through a lot of them. What else do we have on that email? We had OCs, but that's over now, so don't send us OCs.
If you want to send us fan art, like we're not planning on a fan art episode, but that's always welcome.
We need to make that like a segment.
Oh yeah, some people make fan art and then they like don't tell us about it, and then I feel bad because like I don't see it for a week, and it's like, oh, thank you. So
We love you.
if you go in the email and send us an email, that's probably a really good way for us to see it.
Yes.
So that's also, contact us about those 2 things. And we also have a couple social media sites.
Yes. We have a Facebook account, which is facebook.com/cutieartcrusaders. You can go there. You can like us. We provide information on when we'll be streaming the day of. And we also have a Twitter account, which is @CutieArtCrusade, and that is kind of mirrors our Facebook. So we also have more up-to-the-minute information there as well as to how the stream's going. So,
Treat.
yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of episode 42. The answer to everything. Didn't you? We were just having a conversation about this.
Yeah.
The other
This
day.
episode is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
To anything and everything. Yeah.
That is extremely disappointed, and I hope everyone does not take this as the answer to everything because that would be ridiculous.
But that's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy thing.
The irony of all of this is
I know the quote. You're both like explaining the jokes today. Thank you.
No. See, what you fail to understand is that the irony of all of this is that this is the 42nd episode, and it's the answer to anything and everything, and the theme for this episode is portraits, where the subject is the character, which is usually yourself. So the answer to anything and everything is individuals. It is people. It is you as an individual and others as an individual. It is all of us as people.
Okay, I take Burns' side.
What?
That is the answer to anything and everything.
No, that was so deep and beautiful, and oh my god. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
That was great.
Well, thanks for watching, whether you're on the live stream or YouTube. We love you all the same.
No, you get out of here.
I'm
It's
Rainbow
my
Plasma.
job, I'm back. Stop. Oh my god. I almost said.
Rainbow Plasma, you do the outro.
Okay, fine. Thank you guys for watching, whether or not you're on the live stream or YouTube. We love you all the same. We'll be back next week for a theme that we haven't thought of yet because we're awfully prepared for these things.
Yeah.
Maybe a special guest. We don't know.
Who knows? Hey, come back next week. That's part of the fun, is the surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, my name is Raymond Plasma.
My name's Bruno1.
And I'm Flutterguy317.
And Pinky Dash is in here.
Yeah, he's still not going to be here for
You
another
miss
couple
him.
weeks. But we will see you guys next week.
Yep.
We love you.
Bye.
That was really creepy, Burned.
I love you so much.